When we started Pins and Aces in 2018, that was part of it. Like, hey, get some golf influencers, have them post about Pins and Aces head covers. We would see crazy sales. Give me $300 and we'd make $5,000. Now with influencer marketing, it's completely flipped the other way. And I think having an organic strategy of your own people in the face of the brand, doing their own influencing to your audience and talking about the product and the business is more important and more impactful. I'm a big fan of live selling. We're doing a lot more of that.
Are drops still a big part of the business?
Oh yeah, they're a massive part of the business for sure. We try and have a drop like once a month, limited edition. It's always the struggle with founders or faces of the brand. You're working in the business instead of working on the business.
You're spending real money to drive traffic to your site, but the truth is 98% of that traffic leaves without ever giving you an email. Meta knows who they are, but you don't unless you use Instant. Instant helps brands identify anonymous visitors so you can send more abandonment emails, build stronger retargeting audiences, and actually recover that lost revenue. Brands like Fate the Label saw a 4.5x boost in their abandonment flows. Masco increased Shopify revenue by over 15%. Third Love, Toys R Us, and the Oodie, these are all massive stores that use Instant to see an average ROI lift of 11.2x. They'll even guarantee you a 4x ROI or your money back. It only takes 15 minutes to set up and you'll start seeing results fast. If you're serious about getting more out of the traffic you're already paying for, now's the time to fix it. Get 50% off your first month at instant.one/DTC. That's instant.one/DTC. Nick, welcome to the DTC Podcast. We're doing it live, no pre-interview, gripping and ripping it like a drive, like Happy Gilmore, just stepping up to a drive. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go over your background. Tell me about why you started Pins and Aces.
Yeah, Pins and Aces really was derived from a need or necessity, in my opinion. I had purchased a new driver, golf driver, and it came with this ugly, horrendous head cover. And I'm like, oh, this is terrible. I'm going to go buy a different head cover. You see other head covers, and I'm like, this is terrible. So I went to go buy a head cover, and they were crazy. They were like $150, $200. Now, super high quality head covers nonetheless, but I didn't want to spend $200 on a head cover. It was like half the price of the driver. And so that's kind of where it started. I'm like, I think I could is this really, are there no other head covers out there? And looked at some other brands. They were really cheap and really terrible. I'm like, I think we could make a really nice head cover for a lot less money than this. And so that's kind of how it started. That was in 2018. We had a couple head covers. We were selling on Amazon. I was involved in another venture, e-commerce space that I was involved in. So I didn't really have a lot of time to go and make golf head covers. So it was kind of like a side hustle project until about 2020. And then it, kind of took off.
The thing I'm loving lately is the idea that you can literally just do shit. You can literally just do things. And it sounds like that's what you did with the golf. Like, how did you go about making a golf head cover?
Well, if we back up a little bit on the story of where I'm at, it's really tough for me to work for anybody. I've always kind of been an entrepreneur. In college, I had started a business and I ran that out of my parents' basement after I graduated, didn't get a job, ran this little bracelet business, e-commerce, and I ended up selling it to my largest competitor 16 months after I graduated. So a nice little exit. And then I started working, who is now my father-in-law, but my girlfriend at the time. I'm married to her, but her father was an owner of a mannequin company. They made mannequins. And so I was going to go get an MBA, and he's like, hey, you're an entrepreneur. You don't need to get your MBA. Come work for me. You're going to learn more than, getting an MBA. So I worked with him in a mannequin company and had a lot of experience traveling the world from their manufacturing side. And I met a lot of cool people. And mannequins obviously work with like apparel and garments, and that's how we moved into apparel. We had those kind of connections. But with the head cover, it was literally as easy as going to Alibaba. That's where we first started, and making, finding someone who can source and manufacture a head cover. And that's where it kind of started. Just like you said, you just kind of have to take the plunge and commit to it. And we did. We brought in some head covers. The first round too was not great. We thought it was amazing, but you grow and evolve from there. And so, yeah, just like you said, a lot of people can start up, and then building a brand upon that is more difficult. And, we can talk about that, but yeah, that's how it started. I think a lot of people can start something like that.
Can you just back up a little bit more and tell me why you love golf so much?
I don't know. I've played it my whole life, and famously try to be a college golfer, and there's a longer story to that, and it didn't really pan out. I knew I was good, but not ever going to be like a pro level golfer, and I got really burned out throughout college trying to play seriously competitive golf, and now I just like hanging out with the boys and drinking a few beers and going out and having a good time. But golf is fun. If a lot of people who take it up, they're now addicted to it because it is such a fun sport.
I was just watching a clip with Tony Hinchcliffe yesterday, the comedian, who was going off about how much he loves golf. And he brought up an element that I'd never heard before. He's like, I'm glad my president golfs once or twice a week. He's like, he's like, for the mental, like just the meditative aspect of the whole process of like pin seeking, being out with the boys, being out in the grass, being like grounding, like all these different things. Like there's a lot that it's good for mentally if you're not breaking your putter.
No doubt. And like the winter months and you being up in Canada, it's like miserable. You're depressed. You can't get out and play golf. And once spring comes around, you're itching to get back. And it's like a long week at the office. You go out and play golf. It is fun, and we look forward to that.
My buddy was just golfing yesterday on the course beside my house, actually, because it doesn't snow that much where I'm in Victoria, but it was just like sending pictures of just the pure slog through the mud that it was. So
right, yeah.
Definitely winter rules in effect.
Exactly.
Okay, so talk to me about your go-to-market strategy. Like even on that first round of head covers that weren't that great, did you have to redo them, or did you go to market with what you had?
Oh no, we went to market with what we had, and it was Looking back, I mean, now our quality is amazing and the level of detail, and we've expanded upon what we've done. The first round of head covers, we were like, I got them in. I'm like, this is amazing. This is great. Like, fantastic. We're going to create a Shopify site. We're going to get them on Amazon. We're going to be millionaires by the weekend. Didn't happen that way, but we did put them up, and we had some background in the previous e-commerce business called Adams Polishes that I was involved in. Kind of knew the playbook of developing a brand and a strategy around that, and so kind of knew the basic fundamentals that you'd want on a website, and then certainly on Amazon. And so I mean the first round wasn't great, but we evolved upon it, and then they did start selling, and there were some organic things. Got onto Instagram, in 2018. Not a lot of tons of commerce through Instagram really, so we were fortunate in that regard, and just kept picking away at it. Wasn't really something we put a lot of effort into until really 2020, and then really expanded the product line to apparel and bags and everything else.
What were your go-to steps for creating the brand initially? Like what you said, you sort of had that playbook a little bit. Like what were you thinking about not just making this an Alibaba, drop shipping business or whatever, but really building the brand? Right.
So we really focused on, first and foremost, we had another. We were doing it out of my basement, but we were saying that, hey, we're American business here. We're not drop shipping. We kind of leaned into that. Like, hey, this isn't just a drop shipping brand. It's going to be shipped from Colorado to you. And just because you're making a product overseas doesn't mean you're not employing Americans and growing the business. It's the same thing with Apple. They can build this beautiful Cupertino facility and employ all these Americans, but their iPhones are made in China. And same thing with us. Some of our products are made overseas, although we've had a commitment to bring it back to the US. But the playbook would be, hey, what's your story? What's your position? We want to make a better head cover. It doesn't need to cost an arm and a leg. We're fulfilling the orders from here. Create the Instagram page. Start with the website and work on email collection, data collection. How can we analyze our CAC to LTV? All of those things from kind of day one. And then when we come out with a second SKU, a third SKU, we can really kind of build upon that. And we also had this like kind of hype marketing. We were like, oh, we're a cool new brand. We've got this limited edition. And the limited edition, we said we had only 50 of, and we're going to sell out. Well, I would only sell 2 or 3 of them, and then I would turn the product page off, and I would either give them away or send them to influencers. And hey, we only legitimately had 3 to sell. And it kind of built this brand of like, hey, there's an organic, this is a cool component. That was a sweet design. I'm going to get the next drop. And so we kind of built upon that.
You mentioned how head covers were so expensive. You were solving that. What price point did you enter the market with?
So our price point on head covers was originally priced at $50 for a head cover. Now we're a little bit higher price than that at $69 or $59.95 for driver head covers. But that was a reasonable, I thought, price point for the market. I mean, there's some, sure, we still get, you're way too expensive. Well, Yeah, but the other brands that are in like $20-$30, the designs aren't that great, and we're certainly not a $200 head cover, and that's okay. We don't pretend to be like we're some crazy, really high-end, expensive product. We make a really high-quality product at an affordable price for a lot of people.
And you have, the brand is really solid. I love the brand name and the logo and everything. But you've just added so much like creativity as your SKUs have expanded, right? And there's so many different kinds of golfers, so many different in jokes that golfers have. Or how much did, like, even in those early days, did you have a lot of personality in the head covers, or did that just evolve as you added more SKUs?
I think it evolved. We had like the Colorado flag, and we still sell that same head cover, albeit it's a little bit better. But that was one of our first ones that we did. We had like a Texas flag, a USA head cover. They were just pretty generic in terms of the evergreen collection, but still a cool head cover. And since then, we've expanded with limited editions and higher quality designs, more intricacy with future and subsequent drops.
Super cool. Is the liquor stick your product, or is that one you license from someone else?
No, so that's a funny story. The beer sleeve and the liquor stick are like
birdie juice.
Yeah.
You need the birdie juice.
Yeah, so the beer sleeve came, and that was really what took the business to the next level. Was in 2020, okay, COVID is here. We had kind of expanded the product line. We were starting to make apparel, expanding it a little bit. And COVID, obviously, everyone was playing golf. People were buying online. So we kind of rode that wave. But the beer sleeve came in, I think it was in like the 90s. Someone made maybe it was Burton or something. And they made a beer sling that was for skiers. And it held like 10 beers, and it was long and thick. I'm like, this would be great. I bought one, and I'm like, it doesn't fit in the golf bag though. So we tightened it up and made it literally just fit a can perfect, and then shortened it to 7 beers so it wouldn't stick out of the top of your bag. And so we were the first ones to ever come up with that for the golf bag, and that went crazy. We were selling 50,000 beer sleeves a month, just
Wild.
all organic. People seeing it, sharing it, doing this, and it was crazy. And now, unfortunately, everyone makes a beer sleeve, and they knocked us off completely. But we were the first ones in golf to make the beer sleeve, and then the next idea was like, hey, okay, we have beer. How can we do liquor? And so came up with this idea. I built it out of PVC pipe to kind of test it. And can we get a battery powered pump? The beer sleeve also doesn't fit in every golf bag, but the liquor stick would. It holds a 750. And then I made sure to patent that product before we went to market, and made sure no one else could knock it off. And that's been a wildly successful product. We're on version 3 of that with some improvements along the way. And that's been a great one for sure.
Talk about your growth strategy a little bit. Like, it's obviously, I'm just on your Instagram page now. You got 142,000 followers, pretty strong engagement. What does your marketing mix look like now? What's driving the growth today?
Yeah, I think, there's always a mix between organic and inorganic. But we still want to maintain the face of the brand. And it's now less so me and more so a younger guy coming in, who's my brother-in-law, actually Liam, who does a lot of our marketing.
Oh, nice.
But, really high engagement with our customer base and with our, our following with organic. We're going out to the golf course. We're doing something funny or, silly or whatever, and posting it organically, showing the warehouse, doing giveaways, engaging with our community. I think that's really important on growth. And then collaborations has been a big one too. We do a lot of collaborations, and that gets that company's audience to us and vice versa. And it makes kind of adds legitimacy to your brand, number one, for people who still don't know about Pins and Aces. But 2, it's like, hey, I haven't heard of Pins and Aces, but I really love South Park, and I'm going to buy this ball marker. So that's helped a lot too.
What have the most successful collabs been?
South Park has been really, really big. Same with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those are really cool. And then we're launching next week with Hey Dude. So that's our first shoe huge collaboration. They came to us. We're like, hey, we want to make a golf shoe. We're going to make our first ever golf shoe with you guys. So we worked on them for like a year, and that's a huge one. I'm hoping that's successful. I'm guessing it will be. They're a huge brand. So we're looking forward to that one.
Super cool. And then what's Edel Golf? Is that a club brand?
Yeah. So Edel, like the singer, is like how you'd pronounce that. Or
okay,
Edel.
Thank you.
There's like 2 different ways to say it, Edel or Edel. I say Edel, like the singer. We acquired that business in early January. And so we always had said we aren't shoes. We do everything but shoes, clubs, and balls. Don't want to get into the shoe game, but we had a partner with Hey Dude, a lot of sizes, don't know that market. Same thing with clubs. But we had an opportunity to acquire that business, and we looked at it seriously at the end of last year, and then purchased it at the beginning of January 6th. So that just allows us to kind of diversify and get into other markets with clubs, and I think it's kind of the next evolution for the brand.
And how many SKUs do you have now?
Oh man,
Hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, I think right around 1,300 SKUs.
Yeah,
total. So pretty crazy.
And then is it pretty diversified in terms of the kinds of products that make the most sales?
Yeah, again, starting from a single head cover to this many SKUs. Apparel like this waffle material that we went out to Vietnam to source and develop this waffle material, really great. And then golf bags. Last year we started selling our player preferred golf bag, and in terms of revenue, that's been our best selling bag or best selling product is the golf bag. But it's a pretty equal mix between apparel, accessories, head covers, and golf bags. It's pretty, which is nice because you definitely want the hero products for sure, but it's nice to have like an even mix and then try and build them all up together.
Have you had any interaction with the PGA or the Live Tour or any of these actual pro golf organizations?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we do have a few guys on the PGA Tour. One of them is Rafa Campos. He's a Puerto Rican, and he actually won about a month. I think it was in November. He had his first PGA Tour win, and he was wearing pins and aces. He's been wearing it for the last couple of years, which was amazing to see a guy on TV wearing your polo and then winning. That was really cool. For sure, know a lot of the guys on tour. We don't do a lot of sponsorships with players, but there's certainly, like with the PGA Tour, like the event down actually at the Puerto Rico Open next week, they'll carry pins and aces in their merchandise tent, and we'll sell it that way. But don't do too much with players in terms of like a marketing aspect. I don't know if that's what you're asking, but
yeah, kind of.
Yeah, so some of them definitely work with them on like the lower tiers. It's hard to see an ROI though. If we want to talk about marketing, to pay a guy to wear your stuff, use your stuff, it's expensive, and we're pretty good with Google and Facebook. And that's kind of been our breadwinner.
And then when it comes to ads, like obviously you have this big SKU catalog, but when it comes to ads, are you focused on your hero products and then opening up the other products with, retention and email, SMS or whatever? Or do a lot of your products have ads that direct to them?
A lot of them do have ads. We probably have 35 different campaigns going with a bunch of different subset ads within there. And again, because we don't have like one main hero product, the ads, we have apparel ads, head cover ads, liquor stick, golf bags, all of those. And then obviously it kind of depends on the year and timing and which ones are performing. Sure, we'll juice the ones that are doing better, but you do get a lot of overflow in that, hey, someone saw a golf bag ad, but then they wanted to buy the polo. They came to the site and saw the polo. And so we track that pretty closely.
Describe to me what happened in 2020. Why did the business blow up in 2020?
Yeah. Well, COVID, number one. So COVID was good for us in the sense that people were buying online and we were digitally native at the time. And golf, it's like one of the only things that you could do during COVID. So that blew up. And then ironically, I was in the warehouse. And at this point, we had grown the business to 2020 and it was doing a few $1 million a year, but I still had the other business that I was involved in that I had to focus day to day. So I'd come to, now we had a warehouse, an office for the rest of the pins and aces stuff at that point. And I got a direct message on Instagram, a DM from Bud Light. This was before they went crazy, but and they were like, hey, we want to do a collab. You can do whatever you want. We want to get, our audience into golf. You guys can do stuff. So we did like a beer sleeve, polos, head covers, all this stuff, Bud Light, and it went crazy. And then they gave it to like Post Malone and George Kittle and all their guys who were on Bud Light, and they kind of posted it and blew it up there. And then Pins and Aces just like exploded from that. And that was really helpful. That was really nice of them to do that collab. But that was really kind of like a turning point in the business. And the beer sleeve had just come out right in 2020. That's why Bud Light saw it when it was going viral. They wanted to do the collab. They wanted a Bud Light beer sleeve. And so we just kind of capitalized on that and took advantage of it.
Timed that really well. I know that they're
very lucky.
deep into overdrive on rehabbing the brand now with Shane Gillis.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think they're doing a good job of it. I think
They
they've
are.
done a good job of reestablishing that brand. Maybe it's time for a new collab.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
And then, so within paid media, maybe within Meta, how big of a strategy are influencers within your sort of like paid social game?
Yeah, the influencer market was crazy, especially with the previous business, Adams Polishes, that we had built up in 15 and 16. It was great. You could get into influencers. And when we started Pins and Aces in 2018, that was part of it. Like, hey, get some golf influencers, have them post about Pins and Aces head covers. We would see crazy sales for it. Like, hey, give me $300 and we'd make $5,000. I'm like, this is amazing. Now with influencer marketing, it's like they want the opposite. They want $5,000, but you're going to make 300. So it's completely flipped the other way. And I think people see the influencer marketing as they kind of see through it. You find a big following. Hey, here's this Pins and Aces head cover. Oh, they're just getting paid. Like, I don't want to buy that. Before, it was way more organic. It felt more organic to the customer. And so it's not as effective as it used to be. And that's where I think having an organic strategy of your own people in the face of the brand doing their own influencing to your audience and talking about the product and the business is more important and more impactful. There's still a need for it, but way less than what we used to do.
The sky's the limit for your content marketing opportunities, I feel like, right? Like golf, people have such an affinity for golf. You talk, golf, you're talking all the way through golf. Like there's podcasts, it's the kind of a brand that you could like spin out like a media network, like Barstool potentially off of something like Pins and Aces. What has your content marketing strategy kind of looked like right now?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of it is driven around product launches for sure, but how can we make that product launch feel more organic? How can we bring the customer along with us to make them feel like they're a part of this journey together? From if we're coming out with a new product, we're showing the process on how we did that, and hey, tune in. There's going to be something in a couple days. We're going to talk more about it, and you're kind of bringing them into this journey, and then. Again, talking about that, we have our own podcast that we launched last year, and we're talking kind of the intricacies of the business, but also golf in general, products, like how that works, how do we source products, how do we do all of this stuff, and so that's been effective too. But again, it's just like what you're saying. It's we have to bring the customer in and make them feel a part of it, and there's a lot to talk about.
And then when it comes to, so I kind of first even learned about this world. I'm a very mediocre, couple times a year golfer. And so I wasn't as tuned into it. I met Colin Landforce online and such an interesting character. And he's built out a media niche, just really talking about the business of sourcing golf products. I'm curious about how competition has been in the space and whether it's been a net positive because everyone's realizing that you don't just have to buy the same 5 different kinds of branded golf shirts and that there's this whole other world, or has it been tough because there's way more of these competitors vying for attention?
Yeah, I think so. It's funny. I just got off the phone with Colin like an hour ago.
Nice. Best last name out there,
I know.
I think.
Yeah, I know. It's a real last name. I thought it was just his thing, but yeah, for sure. I think there's definitely a lot of competition. That it's a very low barrier to entry for someone to make a screen printed polo and a head cover or a ball marker. And like we see that all the time, but they come and then they fizzle. They come and then they fizzle because the legwork and the back end stuff that goes into not just having a sugar high flash in the pan success is a lot of work that goes in behind it. And so there's definitely been those, and hey, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you tap into, what people are wanting to buy? So we're using our community to understand, hey, what people are looking for, what are the designs they want, what are some of the collaborations they want to see, and we really do tap into our network organically.
And then are you guys doing retail as well as D2C?
Yeah, so we're in like Golf Galaxy and PGA Superstore, along with about 1,500 pro shops. So like Edel Golf Course, you see the pro shop, you got to buy a sleeve of balls. They have apparel and stuff in there. So that's a big piece of the business. And same thing with overseas in Asian markets like Korea and Indonesia, we've seen a lot of success in. And really kind of having an omni-channel approach for the brand. I think retail, people were like really bearish on retail and COVID, it's going to die. It's not coming back. People are buying online. But we saw, hey, there was a huge spike in e-com, but then people who prepared for that as if that's the norm have really struggled because it's gone down in terms of people are wanting to go retail and wanting to see it in person or touch it, feel it or whatever. So I think we want to have an omni-channel approach to the business, and I'm a big fan of live selling. We're doing a lot more of that on platforms like Whatnot, and even on our own channel through things that we call Power Hour, where we're doing live selling shows. People can comment, ask. And so we're really big on that in the future.
That's super cool. We did a mastermind this fall, and one of the guys there he has an underwear company, but he was holding court on how effective live selling can be. And it's a theme I've heard come up again and again.
Wild.
Yeah. I actually haven't even heard of Whatnot. What is Whatnot?
Whatnot is crazy. It's like Twitch and eBay combined. So you go on there and you'll say like, hey, I got this hat, running this hat. Go ahead and bid, and people are bidding in the chat. It's 10 seconds long. All right, sold $35. On to the next item. Okay, here's this pullover. Okay, bid it up. Okay, sold $70. Next item. So people are. It is a live stream. So you're live streaming. People are chatting, and then you're selling product, and it's got like a bidding function, and you bid it up until the auction's over. You go to the next item.
Exciting.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah,
and it's blowing up.
Yeah, it has blown up for sure. That's a separate platform, and that's been great. We go live on there 3 times a week, and it really kind of builds this community. People are seeing the same guys every week. They're chatting with them. They know them. That's been impactful, and it's brought in this whole new community of buyers and people to the brand. But then even more so on our website, we've got like live options for customer service where there's it's not just live chats. Like, hey, here's the camera. Here's our team. We're here. If you got a question about a bag or a hat, show me this. You can show it to them right then and there. And then building selling events around that.
Nice. Oh, I just noticed you have freezer tarps.
Yeah, we do.
Are you coming up with a line of upper deckies?
We do. We have a couple products. We have the Zimbabwe headcover, Zimbabwe Country Club that we made, and then
That's
the
hilarious.
Zimbabwe Nuclear Program headcover that he's a collaborator on. So those have been really popular too.
Just crazy nimble. I think
Yeah.
that's what, like, you mentioned the brands that like come and go, and it's like you've done such a good mix of like hitting topical things, topical influencers, but then having these anchor products, whether it's your head cover, whether it's the actual like tech you've built in like Liquor Stick 3. It's like you sort of have a bit of everything.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you have to. I think you kind of have to do that as you grow and evolve, and people want newness. It's crazy. It's always kind of, you kind of always have to be top of mind in some way. Coming out with a new product is easiest to be top of mind, in my opinion. Hey, here's the new stuff. Go check it out. Here's the email blast. Check it out, which is great. But you also have to have a reason for someone to come in and purchase that and be like, hey, I want to support Pins and Aces. Why am I going to support them? Why am I going to buy their hat or their head cover over this other brand? Okay, what's the reasoning behind that? And having that resonate with your customers and really having A+ customer service, going above and beyond. Those things are all really important.
I don't know if this makes sense just because you're both apparel companies, but I'm friends with Bart from Dad Gang, and I could see a collab because dads and golf go together like, peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
I could see a good Dad Gang Pins and Aces gang collab.
Yeah, I'm all for it. The collabs are great, especially in like similar but not completely overlapping markets. More the merit. The pool, I always say, I'm at the PGA show, which is a big golf show in January, and you meet a lot of the other brands, your competitors. Oh, we don't like those guys. And people are nervous to come up and talk to me, or you see them out at an event or something, and they're like, wow, you're like way cool. I thought this would be like a problem. I'm like, hey man, the pool's big enough for everybody to swim in. There's a lot of opportunity for everybody in here. And it's definitely more tight knit, and a lot of people know each other in the golf space. So yeah, it'd be great.
So you hired your brother-in-law to be a bit more of the face, create a bit more of the content. I think maybe in the beginning you were doing a lot more of that. It's hard to conceive that you're going to find the right person for that job. I think for a lot of founders, talk just a little bit about that process of finding that and how well it's done for you.
Yeah. The problem, and I'm a dad. I have 4 kids. I'm getting old. I got grays coming in this beard. I'm trying. No one likes it, but we're doing this like poor Scotty Scheffler video series, and so I got to grow this out and look like
Nice.
Scotty Scheffler. So, but yeah, as the next, I think that's always the struggle with founders or faces of the brand of letting go and saying like, hey, who's behind you? Because you get stuck into worrying about these little things instead of, you're working. in the business instead of working on the business. And I think that's where a lot of founders get stuck. And so having a backup plan, not just for the face of the company, but how can you resource and bring people up behind you so then you can continue to grow and evolve the business. And so, yeah, finding the right person. If you look back, like I brought Liam in from college, and first couple of videos, he was rough. Like, I'm like, this guy can't be on camera. But you work on it and you continue to develop it. Now he's great. Now he's probably the best one we've got. And so you kind of have to commit to that. It's tough to do, and you slowly introduce him and people get used to him, and then now he's everywhere.
And then with as many products, I guess, like you mentioned in the beginning, drops, you sort of fake it till you make it a little bit with the drops.
A little bit.
Are drops still a big part of the business?
Oh, yeah. They're a massive part of the business for sure. We try and have a drop like once a month, limited edition. That gets people to the site and they want to grab it for sure. And it's not huge money making, for us to do like a limited drop, but it drives a lot of hype, a lot of shares on Instagram, a lot of content to talk about, and then they come back and they're buying the other things as well. They're buying the Evergreen collection, they buy the head cover, but they also bought this. So it gets people really into the fold for sure. And drops, limited edition drops and collaborations have been definitely the most impactful piece of our business.
And it always gives you such a legitimate reason to email your list, right? Like, 100%. Hey, there's something new, right? Rather than, hey, we're on sale or this or that. It's always like, it's an event that this thing is coming out. So it's like so legit that you email them.
Yeah, for sure. And we even have, now we take it a step further, and with drops, we'll do golf tournaments around a drop. So we have 4 golf tournaments this year. We have open house at our HQ here in Colorado. There's like 300 or 400 people that come to that, and they want to be a part again of the community and get that drop and be a part of it. The only way to get it is to come here and do that. So those have been really, really well received.
We had this event that we put on in the fall. We had I talk about it on the podcast all the time, but we had Brandon Horojo from Montana Knife Co.
Oh yeah,
and they're such cool, and his drop thing is insane. They're doing 2 or 3 drops a week.
Yeah,
and he has them planned out for 2 years, so his team knows every action they need to take in regard to those drops for the next 2 years, basically. So it just aligns everyone.
I wish we were that organized.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're saying. You could do 1 drop a month. Like, if you probably could do more. You probably, you know what I mean? Like, with as an engaged an audience that you have, and the total blank canvas that you have to create not just knives, but like all these different accoutrements within golf. How quick are you on turnarounds, like with cultural moments or things that you want to, like products that like, something big's happened and you want to get that out there? Yeah,
pretty quickly, for sure. Not like next day, like a print on demand. I think Barstool does it really well. Scotty Scheffler getting arrested, and an hour later they have his mugshot on a t-shirt. Like, that's pretty quick. That's amazing. But for us in our industry, it's been helpful, not so much in terms of like pop culture, but in the wholesale side of things. Your course has a golf tournament, and it's like, shoot, we need something next month. How quickly can you make it? And we have a pretty fast turnaround time. We're the biggest, from our vendors, one of the biggest customers of them. So they have dedicated lines where it's like, hey, if you need something quick, we can get it in 2 weeks, made overseas, shipped and delivered in about 2 weeks for those like rush projects. And that's been helpful for sure.
What are your goals with the brand for the next little while here? Maybe think 3-year window kind of deal, like scale it up, continue, or are you working on profitability? What's your focus?
I think so. I think we've been fortunate. It's a good question, and I think it's something that every founder or CEO of their business, small business especially, needs to answer of, hey, what is our vision, mission for the company? For us, it's myself and my brother-in-law. We're the founders of the business, and we still control the majority of the business. And so for us, it was, we were very successful with our last e-com company. We had a very successful exit, so we didn't need to pay ourselves. And so everything that we did in the business just went back into the business. We were able to scale. And now it's a fun, he's my brother-in-law. My other brother-in-law is in the business. We've had people who've worked for us in other businesses for the past 10 years. They're really kind of a part of this culture and family. So number one, I think we'd like to create optionality, whether we go for another exit or we continue to grow and scale the business. It's a fun lifestyle business with a lot of people we like. And it's hard to beat being in golf. I love playing golf. So having a golf company is a great excuse for my wife that I got to go play golf. It's work,
Research, right off.
Yeah, exactly. You legitimately get to write our golf off in this. So, but yeah, this year is definitely scaling. I think every business finds inflection points. For us, kind of doing roughly 25 million in revenue this year would be the goal. And, we started again with $6,000 for that first order of head covers and haven't taken a dime in the business of outside capital and just kind of rolled everything back in, and it scaled us to this point. And I think this year it's like, hey, we'd like to hit that top line goal, but we'd like to be more profitable than last year, continue to grow profitably. It's beyond just a hobby. And I think a lot of times, you go put your money in the market and make 5-7%. So can you have a better return on that? I could just take 20 million, put it in the market, make 7%. Great. So can we go beyond that and have a legitimate business? Then it creates optionality for us of whether we want to continue to grow and scale this business and continue to grow that top line while maintaining that percentage of EBITDA, or do we want to sell the business? And it just provides optionality for us.
Who do you see as like a suitor to buy the business? Would it be one of the more established, bigger golf brands?
For sure. I definitely think it's strategic. You see it with Callaway acquiring Travis Matthew a few years ago. TaylorMade just acquired a small niche putter company. I know we're on the radar for some of those guys doing like order testing and tracking order numbers and how are they scaling. You see those, and we've definitely had those conversations. I think everyone has kind of their level of where they want to be involved. And I think their level is probably 50 million in top line sales. Then it's like, okay, we can roll this in and really grow it. Anything smaller than that, not really of interest. But I think, who knows? I think a strategic of a bigger golf company would probably be the right buyer for the business.
Are there, I don't know how hands-on you are on this side of things, but are there any tools that you have either in your marketing stack or like SaaS platform, e-commerce SaaS platforms that you're really enamored with that you think are doing a great job?
Particle's great. Are you familiar with them?
Particle's neat.
Yeah.
Particle sponsored the podcast. They're the ones that help you with like inventory. Like they help you understand how products are moving outside of your business.
Yeah. So like competitor data.
That's right. Yeah.
So you could see like, okay, hey, we really want to sell a new bag, a new color. Okay. And I really love competitor XYZ sells this neon pink bag. Okay. I love it. They've got to be killing it. When you go to Particle and see how well that bag is selling, and you could say, well, that's actually selling like shit. They're just putting a lot of resources behind it and it doesn't sell well. So you can use that data and beyond the general scope of things of, hey, what color trends are popular? Here's your top 10 competitors. They're selling pink, blue, and yellow polos the most. And so your color palette should kind of match this and see what they're doing. It's cool to also benchmark the opportunity of, hey, we want to get into golf bags. Here are these three competitors. Well, they're selling $7 million a month worth of golf bags. That's a market we want to be in, and we want to take some market share. So we definitely use that with new product development if we're trying to get into a new space, or kind of redesigning or redeveloping our current collection, but coming out in different colors or different patterns. What's selling well, and we can get some insights onto that.
I love that. I remember that they were explaining to me the business about how they, at that time they were talking about they had part of their data tools were like bots that would go onto competitor sites and like load up carts with hundreds of items until they said we don't have any more, and they would understand and I'm like, I bet like Pixels hate those companies because they just like add to cart. They just unless you know they're bots, they're gonna mess up your data quite a bit.
Yeah, it really does suck when you look at like your conversion rate and you're like, why is my conversion rate why is it down? And then you look at like how many added to carts there were, and you're like, wait a minute. And even the other night, a new Particle was phishing our site because we had 1,700 people checking out, and we had 60 people on the site or whatever the numbers were. It was like that didn't add up. And there's never, a time where we're going to have 17 people at once in the cart and then they all abandon. So it skews your numbers, but that's exactly what they're doing. They're going to all the competitors, hitting them, adding each SKU into the cart, saying, I want to add 1,000. Hey, we only have 660 available. Okay. Now we know our baseline. We do the same thing tomorrow, and now we have 640. Okay. They sold 20 in the day. And so then it creates that data.
Super neat. Are you the best golfer in your company?
Yeah, biasly, I'd say yes. There is a guy who came on, especially with the acquisition of Edel. There's a couple guys there who are pretty good. And then one of our new internal sales guys, he played Division I golf. I have not played actually with him. So I'm going to still say yes until I actually play with him.
That's the way to go for sure. And do you have internal company golf tournaments?
Yeah, that's what I was saying around drops. We'll have 4 actual. You can go to our website. You can buy them. You can sign up for our golf tournaments. There's 4 of them this year. And those are a good time.
I'm aware of Live, and I that whole like Live drama that kind of came out, and now there's this new like arena golf thing where you're golfing to a giant screen. What's that like? What do you think about that?
I don't know. The simulator thing, I know it's become more popular. I hate simulator golf. It's just like, it's not real. It's like, I don't like Top Golf either. I don't like going and hitting a fake ball into a big circle. It's just not for me. But apparently, I don't know the data on it, if it's doing well or is it not. I mean, it's definitely cool. Giant screen, real turf they're hitting off of. And then it all like goes to this one fake green. So it's interesting for sure. There's definitely a lot of moves happening in the golf space right now.
Yeah, and the more golfers, the more chance for them to wear your products.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we want.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast today. If people want to follow your entrepreneurial journey, where do you recommend they do that?
So I'm like anti-social personally. I like to, kind of separate them. People have said I need to change that, but I'm pretty like, lock and key outside of the business, but you'll definitely find me at Pins and Aces on everything. At Pins and Aces, just spelled out with the on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch now, all the socials, Facebook, just at Pins and Aces.
And if you had one message for entrepreneurs out there to leave them with on the podcast, what would it be from your experience?
I mean, it's pretty cliche, but you just really have to stick with it. There's obviously going to be a lot of failures and up and downs with being an entrepreneur. It's not as like, I'm going to go work for myself and I get to control my schedule. I work way more now than I ever have before. It's of a corporate job, and then I think it's important too to know. When you have a dead dog and you need to move on. A lot of people I see try and push a product that is technically superior, technically successful, but is it commercially successful? And I think marrying those two is really important, because a lot of people have a technical success. It doesn't mean you're going to have a commercial success, and you got to know when to kind of draw the line, but that doesn't mean give up. It's a gray area, where do I go with this? So I think that's important to understand.
Gotta say, the beard looks great, by the way.
It's coming in. It's only like a week in, so it's
coming in.
See me in like a month, and you'll be like, "Wow, that really filled in."
So, he is a poor man, Scotty Scheffler.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll see it on socials. It'll be coming in for sure.
Cool, man. Well, this was a lot of fun. Thanks again.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at directtoconsumer.co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.